Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha. It's Friday.
Yay!
I'm not sure Friday means much to a lot of people during a pandemic, but it means a lot to me.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean, Friday, in fact, Friday doesn't mean that much to me anymore, but...
if you're retired.
Yeah, and you know, Ben does his own school thing. I'm not involved in that, and
I should hope not.
I know, at the age of 23, I should not be involved in it. I'm not, but such a relief.
I have students whose children are involved in their college education, helping them, but you
children appearing in Zoom meetings and stuff, Zoom classes.
Well, that too, yeah. I have a couple of students that come to my office drop-in hours, and their children are usually in the background, or you can hear, you can hear the schooling going on in the background while the children are on their own Zoom meeting. So yeah, I have a class for kind of a beginning level math class, basically no prerequisites, anybody can take it. And some of those students have their kids helping them. And like, I got confused and I watched your video and then I got my kid to help me. So, yeah.
It's a family affair, It's kind of sweet.
When parents talk about, having school and kids and all of that, I always tell them how much I think it's great, because it's such a role model for their children, that you continue to learn. But it's rough. I can't imagine the students I have who are parents, who are going back to school, who are working, who are helping their children do their school. I always admire, the parents who are coming back to school and the amount of work that they have to do. But in this pandemic, it's just been like magnified. Yeah. It's very impressive. Yeah. Their commitment to education.
Oh, yeah. It's a struggle, but it'll be worth it in the end, So.
Yes. And some of us in the struggle, I'm not including myself in that, us really. Some people in the struggle will be able to talk about it in the same way that, of the sacrifices that people made during wartime, and some people are not stepping up in that way. I sort of wonder what it would be like if they were having to live through wartime, or, like the greatest generation they talk about that, lived through World War II and made all of those sacrifices. Our society is not quite measuring up, I don't think, to that standard.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you mean in terms of wearing masks?
Being willing to make a sacrifice.
Oh.
For the good of everyone.
It may sort of depend on where you live.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking like masking specifically, everybody's masked up. In fact, I mean,
here, what I'm specifically talking about here, I guess I should be clear.
Yes, because my mind is going on.
What I'm specifically talking about here in California is all of the complaining about teachers not going back, and the teachers' unions not wanting to go back, and parents can't get their kids back in school. And like, I understand that. I understand that it's hard. But you don't get to have your same old life, right? I mean, this is what I want to say to people.
Right.
None of us gets to have the same life we had last February. None of us does.
Well, and I say, even with the vaccine, it sounds like we're not going to have our same lives.
Right. For a while, at least, yeah.
It's going to be a different version of our same life, you know. So, Yeah.
So anyway, I think I talked about the whole, push to get teachers vaccinated, which is happening, and that's really good. But what was being said about what was happening and what was really happening were two different things. And so it makes it seem like, well, all of you teachers are all vaccinated, so why aren't you wanting to come back? Well, we're not all vaccinated. I have my appointment, though.
That's good.
Yeah. That's a quick shift of the subject to be more positive.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
I was finding myself going to a ranty place, and I don't want to do that. So,
well, just before you shift, let me just say here, like, I think that where I live in Seattle, everybody's wearing a mask. And so, like, seems like everybody's very compliant. I'm not going to restaurants. Stores that I've gone to, I always go in and say, like, you check. How do you want me to do this? Everybody seems very on board with this in my world. In fact, so much so, like when I take Enzo for a walk, I always bring a mask with me because even though I don't come in contact with anybody, everybody's masked up to even walking through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know how necessary that is, but I think it's sort of it's becoming kind of a sign of solidarity, But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, on to more positive things. You're getting your vaccine. Yay.
Yeah. So my first dose is the 13th. And honestly, it felt like I was trying to get concert tickets. We had multiple alerts coming out on the faculty, our faculty email at work saying, "Oh, I just checked the site and they've got vaccine appointments." And then I'd go and no appointments. And when I got up in the morning and I got on the computer, I'd always check and I'd go through the whole thing. And the dumb thing is that you had to go through the whole process of putting in all this information. Not all of your information, but you had to click a whole bunch of places just to be told that there were no appointments available. It's like, okay, I'd rather on the very front page, right when I click onto the front page, you tell me there's no appointments available. But anyway, I'd do that every morning and nothing would be available. And then the other morning I checked and there was nothing and all the dates were old. And I, mentioned to Robert, oh, they haven't even updated this website yet. They've still got all the old dates. They don't have the newest dates. And so then I went on to do my, play on the computer, read Ravelry, read my email, that kind of stuff. And I'm reading my email, and one of my colleagues had emailed that there were now there was our county office of education was hosting a vaccine site. And so I went to that. So get this. So it came on the screen sometime in like a 10-minute time frame of when I had looked and when I got the email that it was there. So I went there. It was, at most 10 minutes after it had been live on this website. They had multiple appointments, like 6 to 8 appointments every 4 minutes from 10 until 4 p.m. So that's a lot of appointments.
Yeah.
And I made mine, so I got it. I was like, okay, I'm going to pick a time that has, 5 appointments available as opposed to 2 because I don't want to be cart-jacked. I don't want to get to the end and find out my appointment was already taken. So I do that, and then I texted some other people to let them know, and then I went back to look, and they were all taken.
And you were cart-jacked? They took that one?
Oh, no. I got mine.
Okay.
Mine. But I texted, and then I went back to check on it to see like how many more appointments there still were. Nothing.
Okay.
So like within 15 minutes, all those appointments, 5 to 8 appointments every 4 minutes from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., all of those appointments were taken within probably 15 minutes.
Wow.
It felt like I was, or like I was trying to get yarn from a super popular dyer. Wake up in the middle of the night when the update happens, and like in the early days, the wool mice, I think, was one of them.
Yeah.
Like, people used to get up in the middle of the night to try to get wool mice yarn, and anyway, I felt like that as I was trying to get my appointment. I've
So-
never been this excited for a shot in all my life. Not even a shot of bourbon.
So then, you'll have, I'm assuming this is the 2-part vaccine.
Yeah, yeah.
So then how do you know when you get your second one?
I don't know.
Okay, how that's going to work.
I'm not sure how that's going to work. Yeah. I'm assuming that the same site will have the second round. And then all of us who got appointments for that first site will go to the second round at that same site. But I don't know for sure. I don't think they know for sure.
I was going to say the thing about the websites too. So let me just say, in the state of Washington, I don't know if this is all states have this, but we have Find Your Phase, where you can go and find out. And I'm not eligible yet, but I went back. They say they will email me when I'm eligible, and I've not received any notification of it. So I thought, well, I'll go back and just see where I am. Maybe there's more, because they said,
Yeah.
When I registered for it, they said they don't know when my category would be eligible. No information. Check back. So I thought I'll go check back. You have to register again. There's no way to go and just log back in and find your own status, even though I've registered. And so this is a long way of saying I think they've thrown these websites together as quickly as they can, and they didn't have. I think normally with websites, don't they go through, for companies, they go through testing and everybody uses them to check them all out. I don't think they've had any time to do that. And so there's problems in the system that, because I have no idea, you can't, that right now, I'm sure if anybody lives in the state of Washington, any of our listeners, they can tell me what's really going on, but I couldn't find my status in there. I just had to re-register again. So, and then just add to all of this hearsay, rumor, confusion. My brother registered for Find Your Phase, never got notified, but his medical insurance is with Kaiser Permanente, which and so he went to the website and he just started poking around and he was able to make an appointment through their website to get the vaccine, and he's never been notified that he was eligible by the state of Washington. Yeah. So I don't know. And he said also their website too, again, I think that they are doing the best they can, sort of getting something in place. Right. But he said there isn't like on the website, if you want a vaccine, click here and make your appointment. He said you have to dig down through the site. You actually have to say that you want to make an appointment to get like a flu shot or any kind of shot. And then you have to go through and then it gets you to the part where it say, what I want is the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, like they should have just a big button. Right on the front, a big button that you push to, Right. So, but you're right. I mean, I'm complaining.
No, I mean,
it is something that had to be put together quickly.
Well, and I would say, because I have no idea. Now, the president came out 2 or 3 days ago saying that pretty much everybody who wants a vaccine will have it by May. So I think I will get it soon. I mean, it's just a matter of being patient. But I will say, again, rumor, hearsay, guessing, all this stuff. It is interesting, like people posting on Facebook or Instagram that are getting the vaccine. There's somebody who on Facebook I know who posted that she was getting the vaccine, and as far as I know, she doesn't meet any of the criteria. Multi-generational household, age, underlying health, as far as I know. And so, like, how did she get it? I don't know. And it's like, let it go. Just let that go.
It's possible there's something you don't know about.
It's possible there's something I don't know. Because like it could be an underlying health condition that I don't know about. So, so it's not about, you can't sit there going like, well, how come they got it? But we're human, and that's where our mind goes. Right. But it really, vaccinate as many people as possible. It doesn't really matter. Even,
And my thinking, gosh, we've been on this topic for a long time. Sorry, everyone.
Yes, I know.
But my thinking, at first was, well, I'm not in contact with anyone. I'm not teaching face-to-face yet. I don't really need to get the vaccine. I wasn't too worried about jumping. I wasn't sitting on the computer like it was a rock concert that I wanted tickets to, or, Hamilton or something. because I thought, well, I'm home, I'm not teaching face-to-face. I'm not going to be teaching face-to-face in the fall. I don't have to rush. But what you want is everyone who can to get it.
Yeah.
Everyone who can get it, who can by whatever means really should get it, because that's how you get immunity in, community wide.
Right.
So, and the mathematics, there was an interesting article about mathematical modeling, and the mathematical model was, what if we do it in phases versus what if we do it as whoever wants it, come and get it. And it actually was more effective in the mathematical modeling to make it available, to make whatever was available to whoever wanted it.
I know. That's why I was kind of wondering if that would actually make more sense.
It was mathematically, it was more effective.
Yeah.
But politically, like I'm getting the vaccine, even though I'm not going to be back in the classroom. Robert goes to work every day. He doesn't work directly with the public, but he goes to work every day, and he's not eligible yet.
Yeah.
But is politically, I mean, they're not distinguishing between educators who are going back to the classroom and educators who are not. It's just easier not to do that. And they, and the political reality is they needed to make sure that educators got vaccinated because there's such a pressure for our schools to reopen.
Yeah.
The K-12 schools to reopen. So anyway, this is a long topic. We're probably we're probably treading on the boundaries of what our listeners are willing to listen to.
People are going to be listening to this, walking the dog, driving the car, going, "Oh, for goodness sakes, stop talking."
Where's the knitting?
Where's the knitting? Well, yes. While we wait. So anyway, patience is a virtue. I will get mine soon. And I'm looking forward to it. My vaccination. I'm excited. So anyway, and grateful that we have one.
Yes.
Pretty speedy, the process to have these vaccinations. So,
and apparently CVS, this is part of the email I got this morning, the CVS website is already doing appointments for the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine. So
all right.
That was cool to see.
Yeah.
That's a lot of very fast science.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Should we talk knitting?
Yeah. That's what they're here for, right?
Yeah, really. Let's give them what they want.
Yes.
Okay, so how about you? Do you want to talk about your projects or?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So I finished Robert's socks.
Woo-hoo.
And they turned out really nicely. I'm calling them finished, and I'm actually weaving in ends right now, but they're finished. And I've marked them as finished in the project page. He hasn't worn them yet because I haven't woven in ends, but he tried them on. I did end up making the toe of the first sock bigger than I had done before. They look so funny. I have a picture of them, and because the toe is made from my hand spun and it's thicker, it's not quite fingering weight. It's a little bit heavier than that. Plus, it's a denser yarn. Mm-hmm. They have the most bulbous toes. But they're not pointy, so he loves them. And I'm like, they look so big. And he said, no, they look perfect. So.
And are they comfortable?
He likes them.
The big poofy toes.
Yes, he has room for his toes. So they're not pointy, and they are big enough, but they do kind of bulge out. Well, the sock is ribbed, so that's part of it too. So the ribbing sucks in the foot of the sock, and then I added stitches when I made the toe because it was too dense and stiff and tight. So anyway, they're interesting looking.
Well, you'll have to share a picture of them. So
I will. Yeah, the Leading Men Fiber Arts yarn is really nice. I'm gonna get myself some more of this. Maybe not this color. I don't know. I like this color. But it's just a really nice sock yarn. I think this one might be BFL sock. I can't remember now. But it feels nice. It was nice to knit with. The put up is very large. You get a lot of yarn in a skein of this.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting. I'm looking at the...
You see what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Their toes are quite bulbous.
Yeah, but they look comfortable.
Yes. And they aren't baggy when he wears them. They actually do fit. It's really more of a function of the ribbing on the foot, making the ribbing skinny.
When they're lying in repose. They look funny.
Yes, but they don't have pointy toes when you fold them. Top to bottom.
Yeah.
Speaking of starting socks, I did start the Iced Matcha socks by Dots Dabbles. And the yarn I'm using is a hand spun. It's a gray. The sheep was Charlotte, and I bought her fleece a couple of times. It's the same fleece that I used for the Funky Grandpa sweater.
Okay.
And I finally had used both. I bought 2 of her fleeces, 2 different years, back in the early 2000s, late 90s. And I finally spun up the end of it a couple of years ago with some mohair. So these are mohair wool. It's only a 2-ply, so I don't know how hard wearing they'll be. But the mohair should help. It's probably a little bit thicker than a fingering weight. But not so much bigger that I won't be able to use like a size 1 needle. And I usually use size 0. I'll probably use a size 1. And anyway, I decided to make the Iced Matcha sock pattern. It's like ribbing. It has kind of a ribbing effect, which I like. And then it has a little bit of detail, but not so much detail that I won't be able to knit on them during school meetings and that kind of stuff. So, and then I'm going to start another pair of socks. I don't know which ones. I think maybe one of the cabled pairs from this collection, or maybe one of the Louise Tilbrook. I have quite a few of her patterns, and I have one pair of socks that I really like. That was one of her patterns, and so I might make one of hers. They're very involved.
Okay.
So the Iced Matcha socks will be sort of medium involved, not super involved, which will be good. So I'm enjoying. I just barely started those, so there's not much going on there except basically a cast on. I did also finish another Ice Time hat. The first one that I made, I don't remember when I talked about it last, but the first Ice Time hat that I made. Her pattern, this is from, the pattern is by Jennifer Lassonde, Down Cellar Studio, Boston Jen. And she gave me, as a gift, a copy of this pattern. And so I thought, I'll try it. And I used 2 variegated yarns. And I looked on the pattern because it came out a little small. My gauge, I usually knit pretty tightly. And so I thought, oh, this is a little small. But then I looked on the pattern, and she has as the head circumference 18 inches, I think, which is smaller than what I normally do for a hat. Plus the crossed stitches, I think, have a tendency to make it tighter.
Yeah.
And plus it's like a beanie.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, this is good because it's the size for a kid, and that was my plan. But I want to make a bigger version. So first I was gonna just add, like 1 pattern repeat or 2 pattern repeats. And then I thought, well, it's when you do the decreases, you divide it into 4 groups to do your decreases. So like the decreases make an X on the top of the hat. And I thought, okay, that's going to make those 4 groups different sizes.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to add 4 repeats because 18 inches is small to me for a hat circumference. So that's what I did. It made it a lot easier to do the decreases. And it made a slouchy version, which is more like the kind of hat. Again, this is not a hat that I'm going to keep, but it's more like the kind of hat that I wear. Doesn't smash your hair as much, give you hat head. So anyway, I really like it. It came out really great. And so now I have a pair, like a mother and daughter pair of hats.
Sweet.
Yeah. in purple and yellow. So
they're not in your project page yet though, right?
oh, they're the first one I finished a long time ago, and I just put the second one in the same. So it's farther down on the project page.
Oh, okay.
So I'm suddenly distracted because there's someone on the roof right outside the window.
Oh, really?
We had the roof put on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to replace some flashing and we have these like scupper boxes where the water goes down. They had to replace those. And so apparently they're here to do something else with the flashing. So I suddenly looked up and there's a stranger on my roof right outside the window
and he's wondering why you're
roof,
talking to yourself.
Yes, because the kitchen window or the kitchen roof is right outside the vanity area where I record. So anyway, life at the Locke household.
Yes. Yeah.
So both of the designers, Dots Dabbles of the Iced Matcha Socks and Jennifer Lassonde from this Ice Time hat, have donated prizes for our Extremities cowl that we'll talk about. So it's fun to be using their patterns. Although a hat does not count for the Extremities cowl.
Yes. Yeah.
I looked it up. It's not an extremity. I looked several dictionaries. When I put extremities, and then I looked under several online dictionaries, and none of them included heads. So
it's a headless knit along.
Exactly. I started something really fun.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Frog and Toad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So cute. And, I was talking about the socks being only medium level involved. I started with Toad. That's involved.
Okay.
That kind of knitting is involved, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like your rabbit.
Yeah. Lots of increases, decreases, and it's just like a blob until it starts, and then they begin to take shape. But initially, you don't really know what you're making. You know
Right.
It's the legs, but what?
It's pretty much one piece. You do have to go and add the arms at the end. It's pretty much one piece. So that was good. You don't have a lot of sewing to do for the extremities. But I do have to do sewing for the eyes.
Okay.
And you do like a afterthought heel where you cut your knitting to make the holes for the eyeballs.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so it reminds me of, I looked at the pattern, and it reminds me of when I did the afterthought buttonholes. Because it's a real small thing that you open up. You cut open a piece of your knitting. And so.
This type of knitting, I have to say, I always think the same thing is the mind that can think this way to create these very just adorable and just so creative. I mean, to think like that they can figure out you have to put your decreases here, your increase there, and your short rows here, and like how they can do all that. How many frogs did the designer make to get the final pattern?
Right. A
Amazing.
lot of experimentation in the creation process. In fact, her website is frogandcast.com. So as of today, March 5th, 2021, the front page of her website is this little bear and the whole article about how she how her design process for this bear worked. So I highly recommend it as a very interesting read, and it's also a cute pattern. But I'm not going to make this bear. I'm going to stick to my frog and Toad. So I've made Toad, and I'm going to I want to start on Frog soon. I'm going to wash him, the Toad, because I'm using the Rauma. Now I can't remember that fennel garn.
Right.
That we bought. Yeah. So this is yarn that Marsha and I bought at Stitches one year. Because I was taking the Argyle sock class, and so at lunch during my class, during a break, and Marsha and I went down to the floor of the marketplace, and we just started putting color combinations together. And it's Rauma Fennel Garn is what I'm using. The frog is going to be, or toad is in a brown color. And then I have another one of these Rauma, or the Fennel Garns, that is alpaca. And I have a green, like a limey, goldy, lime is not the right word, kind of a goldy green color, kind of an avocado, like 1960s avocado refrigerator look or something. Anyway, it's kind of a goldy green that I'm going to use for toad. And I have the books, and I've been getting the books out and comparing the pictures on the book to my yarns and stuff to try to get the right combination. So, but this yarn is the one I use for toad that doesn't have the alpaca in it is a little bit, it's toothy, it's a woolly wool. And so I know those soften up when you wash them. So I'm going to block him before I stuff him. And also the yarn will kind of bloom and help keep anything I stuff, help keep the stuffing from showing. So, but I'm using size 0 or size 1 needles. I think I'm using size 0 needle. Let me just double check. Yes, it calls for size 1. And I'm using a size 0 needle because my yarn is a little thinner. The pattern calls for a DK yarn, and I'm using a thinner yarn. It's more like a sport.
I'm sorry. It calls for a DK and size 0 needles?
It calls for size 1 needles.
Oh, 1. Okay.
And it has that's still
that's really small. It's because you want to have it really dense.
Right,
is the idea, right? Okay.
So the stuffing doesn't show. So anyway, I went down to size 0, and actually it worked out well because the size 0 needles that I have are short, and the size 1 needles were longer, and it's so tiny that it's really nice having they're just like maybe 4-inch needles, double points. They're small. They're small double points, and I don't use them. I can use them on socks. Like I bought them for socks, and I use them for socks for me. They're not my favorite sock needles because I like using the wooden ones, but I can use them for socks for me. But for socks for Robert, with 72 stitches, they're just too. They're too small.
Too short,
they're too short.
Yeah.
But they're perfect for this. I think Magic Loop would work. You just have to keep track of where she says to place the markers. Yeah. So that you can make all the little adjustments. But super fun. His little fingers. You do on his hands, you do little picot bind off, so you get little fingers. It's so,
oh my gosh.
It's so cute.
Again, I go back to what I said. It takes a certain kind of mind.
Yes.
An amazing mind to think of this kind of stuff.
And knees. He has knees. His little frog legs have knees.
Oh, little knees.
So very fun. Very fun. I can't wait to start Frog this weekend. I'm hoping maybe I can have them done by Easter. It'd be kind of a fun thing to do to give to Faye for Easter. So
yeah,
that's kind of my plan. We'll see if I am able to do it, but that's what I'm hoping. Fiddly, definitely worth it. So that's the extent of my projects, Marsha.
Well, and I just have to ask the Afghan.
I have been working on it. The last time we recorded, I hadn't done any significant work on it at all. But I have been working on it now. I made probably maybe 5 of the squares. Not the big octagons, but the smaller squares.
Ones that connected, kind of. Yeah.
I made about 5 of those, and then I made another. I have done one of the octagons, but then one night I was just focusing on something simpler, and so it's basically just a granny square, and then it has an edge that has a little bit of detail, something a little more complicated. So I was just doing the basic granny square part, and I did about I did about 5 of them, and then I started another day. I picked them back up and started doing the outer edge of each of the squares. So, yeah, I made some progress on that. So maybe sometime in the late spring I'll be done. I'll be done with that one, but I'm not going to make any promises.
Yeah. Never make promises.
No. So what about you?
So my walk along tee, I've knit about 6 inches of the body, and I love the technique that we have discussed, the helical knitting that we discussed. It's great. There's sometimes when I get to there's a fake side seam on the sweater, and where you do you hold the yarn in front and then slip the stitch through the back loop. And sometimes if you have any detail, something like that that's just not straight stockinette, then you have to do a little fiddling around.
Yeah.
So like as I said in previous episodes, this would not work for cables or this technique. It just has to be stockinette. But so that's just sort of my knitting when I watch Netflix. I just go around and around and around and around on that. I think you start doing increases on the way down, and I think I talked about this before. I'm not sure if I'm going to put all of them in. It ends up being a total of 20 stitches, which is a fair amount, so I may not put all those in. I also am beginning to worry about if I'm going to have enough yarn.
Another one of those projects.
I know. And it could be just illusion.
Yeah.
Because I've now, I had 3 skeins, which I divided into half, right? So I had 6 cakes. I've used up 2 cakes, and I am probably halfway through the second set of 2 cakes, and I'm 6 inches of the body. And then I also have to do sleeves. So... but I'm going down to, we're going down to Seabrook. I think we leave the 13th. So, and that's where I bought the yarn at the String Theory Yarns in Seabrook, Washington. So when I'm down there, I'm going to have a better idea, and I can maybe pick up another skein. I'm hoping I don't have to, but we'll see. Anyway, so I'm making progress on that. And I've been spinning on and off on the olive green merino roving that I have, that I'm combining with the dark brown that's called bitter chocolate. And I had made 2 skeins, and now I'm just filling up the bobbins again. So I've filled up the 2 green, and now I'm filling up the brown bobbin. So, and we had a couple of nice days this week. And so I think it was Wednesday. It was nice, and I just sat on the deck, my new deck.
Yeah.
And spun. By the way, thinking of that, I was sitting out there spinning, and did you see my Instagram post of Enzo staring at the
dog?
At the neighbor's dog? Yes. Isn't that the funniest thing? That was so cute. Anyway. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my Instagram, and you'll see the picture of Enzo looking at the neighbor's dog. But the neighbor's dog is in the window, peering out, and they stared at each other for a good 15 minutes. It was pretty funny.
I feel bad for Bailey, because I think she's she spent a good part of her life before she came to live with us, living at a dog boarding kennel, right? Doggy daycare and boarding kennel. So she was around other dogs all the time, and now it's just her, and we have neighbors, and they have one of our neighbors has dogs that they fence fight, which I don't like, so I keep her away from that. But the other neighbor has a lab that sometimes I can't find her in the backyard, and I go looking for her, and she's down at the fence, and they are just like nose to nose at the fence talking to each other, like not barking, just like somehow communing. They're like keeping company with each other next to the fence. And I feel like, oh,
I was going to put this question out to people, to our listeners later on in the podcast, but since we're on this topic, I'm just going to mention it. Because Enzo's been acting really weird recently. I've been doing long walks, and I take him out, and he just drags towards the end of it. He's just dragging. I have to pull him along to get him home. And He's very lethargic. And so I thought, and I were like, I wonder if I have to take him to the vet. He's not, maybe there's something wrong with him. I finally thought, I think he's bored.
Mm-hmm.
His life is basically sleeping around the house while I do things, one long walk during the day, and then back to sleeping around the house.
Yeah, he doesn't want the walk.
So
maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering. And so I'm varying the route. I also am playing with him every day because I realized I wasn't playing with him. And Ben doesn't live with me now, who would spend a lot of time playing with him. So every day I take, I either chase him around the house, chase him around in the backyard, which he loves, or the other thing I do, which he loves, is down in the basement, I take the ball and he stands at the top of the stairs. I throw the ball up to him and then he kicks it. He pushes it down the stairs and then I throw it back up to him. We do that for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on how long we want to do it. And then I also decided to get him back into agility. But I'm having a difficult time getting him into class because I think so many people have dogs now. I went we've done all the obedience classes, but they're all full till April or May. And so I signed him up for agility, but I can't get in until I think the end of April.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it out to listeners if you have any ideas what to do to keep, because he does seem depressed kind of, or bored.
So I'm going to give a suggestion. I am interested to hear what other people have to say, but I'm going to give a suggestion. Tricks. Teach him some tricks. Well, you took a class, right? Mm-hmm. You did a tricks class?
Yeah, I took a class, yeah. But I can't get into it now, so but I can just do it on my own. I don't need to go to the class. Yeah.
So, you know how to, you have some ideas for how to teach some of this stuff. But it's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. It's a little more entertaining.
Okay, I'll do that.
At least for me, it'd be a little more entertaining than throwing the ball up the stairs for 40 minutes.
Yes.
For the human part of the partnership, it would be a little more interesting. Yeah.
Well, and use his mind more, because that also, he just needs to use his mind. But like my brother, came by yesterday. He said, "What's wrong with the dog?" And so like he saw him, he's like, "Okay, you're here." He's usually excited. We're super excited to see Mark. Was excited and then like laying on the sofa. Mm-hmm. And then Mark came back in the house and he didn't even get up off the sofa. I have a towel down on the basement sofa and he doesn't even get up to greet him. He's like, "That's weird." Because he usually they say poodles are smart. I sometimes wonder because he's super excited to see you. You go out to the garage, you come back into the house and he's like, "Oh, you've been gone. I'm so happy to see you." Like literally it was 2 minutes, but okay. Yeah. So anyway, people, listeners, if you have suggestions of how to get my dog, I don't think he's really depressed, but I think he feels like he's depressed, and bored and like the rest of us in the pandemic, But anyway, so I back to projects. So I've been spinning and I'm enjoying that. I just find the spinning so meditative, and just that one day where I was able to sit out there on the deck was so nice in the sun. It just sort of gives me hope that spring is on its way. And then as we're talking, I am swatching to make the Abington Mitts by Jennifer Lassonde. And as we talked, and that's our segue into the knit along. But I'll just tell you, the yarn I'm using is Dale Garn Helio.
Is that like a Dale of Norway yarn?
No, I'm sorry. It's Hilo. It's Heilo. And it's I believe it's DK weight, which is what is required for the mitts.
Something from your stash? Okay. Your spirit yarn?
No, it's not from my stash. It's from Kim's stash. I went and had dinner with her one night, and she had a bag of yarn that was going. She had gone through her stash, and she had yarn that was going to the Goodwill. Oh. And I said, "Do you happen to have anything that's this weight? Because I don't need a lot for the mitts, and I don't really want to go out to a store." So, and I had DK weight, but I didn't have anything that was not painted. I wanted a solid or a semi-solid. I thought it would look better with this pattern. And so she had this yarn, a whole bag of this yarn, in 2 colors. The one I'm going to use is kind of a milk chocolate color, like a chocolate color, brown, like a natural color. And then also she has another color in here, kind of a burgundy. So I think there's enough yarn I can make 2 pairs, one in each color.
Oh, that's fun.
So anyway, I'm swatching for that. And so for our knit along. So we should talk about the knit along.
So we are having an Extremities knit along, and it was inspired by 2 offers of prizes. One is the Coffee Socks collection that I already talked about by Dots Dabbles Designs, Deborah. And the other gift that we got, an offer of a prize, was the Abington Mitts that Marsha's making. And so with these prizes, they came at the same time, and one was for feet and one was for hands. And so we just decided, let's have an Extremities knit along, crochet along. So you can knit or crochet anything for your hands, arms, legs, feet.
We've had lots of discussion about this, but it's not your head, because Kelly did lots of research and that your head apparently is not, according to the authorities,
on the internet,
is not yes, according to the internet, your head is not an extremity.
That's right. So no hats in this time.
Yeah.
But legs, feet, arms, hands. There's lots of possibilities there. Mitts, socks are the most common.
And even though we were saying it's called a knit crochet along, you can weave, you can macrame.
Okay.
I don't know.
Macrame socks. That would be interesting.
But we were also talking in the last episode, what is it called? The
knoll bending?
Knobbling? I think
that's how you pronounce it. Or that's a close facsimile of how it's pronounced, at least.
Oh, you know what I think would be really cool? Do you know the little lace gloves that Ruth Bader Ginsburg would wear?
Yeah.
That'd be a really fun thing to make.
Oh, as we're sitting here, I'm sitting in the vanity area of our spare bedroom, and at the vanity table, normally, not right now because I move everything when I record, but at the vanity table, I have one of those little vanity mirrors with perfume bottles. And then I have a pair of crocheted gloves. Do you remember, Marsha, when I bought those at the antique store?
Yeah.
I have no idea how old they are, but they're teeny tiny little crochet stitches. And they have the little buttons. They're long gloves, though. They go up your arm, and they have the little buttons, and the buttons are crocheted, and the little button loops are all crocheted. The buttonholes don't go all the way up the gloves. Like the whole gauntlet part of the glove doesn't open up. There's just a section of buttonholes. That would be fun. A knit or crocheted set of fancy, old-fashioned.
They were kind of like fishnet, kind of.
Yeah, like afternoon tea gloves.
As we're speaking, this is bad podcasting, but I'm just looking at online, and there's a crocheted pair from J&P Coats, and it looks like it's very old because it's a black and white photo with an old car.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're
that's a company that makes like the crochet cotton.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun. Well, and the other thing that I thought of is we had bought the silk to make silk socks last year at Stitches. I haven't started those yet either. But I'm gonna stick to the socks that I have for right now. But some mesh gloves.
A quick little
would be
search.
Cool.
There's a lot. Yeah, and apparently you can buy this on Amazon
for Easter.
Says. Oh, and it's not that old a book. It was published in 2009. I guess that is old.
Well, no.
That's 12 years old, right?
I'm thinking of like gloves from the 1950s or something.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like. But it's like those lace gloves like she wore in that really fine cotton. So, and there's other patterns here too. So
cool.
I don't know. Okay, well we went down a rabbit hole on that one. Okay.
But you could have a nice pair of gloves for Easter. So lots of possibilities. Join us. There's a chat thread and there's a finished object thread. Quite a bit of chat going on about the projects that people are doing. Not very many finished objects yet, but there are a few, I noticed. So, and then our winter weave along, not much time left. I have hopes of getting at least something else started, if not finished, But we'll see. The only reason I still have hope is because I have spring break coming the third week of March. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, I have spring break.
Yay!
So maybe I could do something during spring break in terms of the weaving. But otherwise, I'm almost sure that I'm almost sure I won't get something finished, but I might get something else on the loom. Because it ends March 31st. So another year of weaving coming to an end for us. But if you're in the Jane Stafford Guild, her year of weaving is just starting, so that's kind of fun.
Oh, okay. One ends and one begins, so you get a truly a full. Well, I guess it's been a full year.
I haven't ever kept up with hers and like woven the projects in the guild at the time that everybody else, at the time that the videos come out. I wanted to do that this year, but I'm not sure. I don't know. This might not be the year. Teaching online. Ugh. It's getting better. I have to admit it is getting better, but well, it's not my favorite thing.
Well, we should not end the podcast on the same note.
Started
it off.
Let's not listen to Kelly rant about stuff she doesn't like. Yes. So anyway, the Winter Weave Along is ending March 31st. So get your projects in, put them in the finished object thread, and then we'll be doing a drawing. And one of the things that we have as a prize is a class that was donated by Erica from Weavolution. So, and then the other thing that I just wanted to say before we end is I wanted to thank our new patrons. We have 3 new patrons, Jane, Hetty, and Jan, since the last time I mentioned new patrons. So if you'd like to be a patron, how you do that is you go to patreon.com/2us, and you'll see I guess it's a channel or a page, I don't know, our account, and then and you can become a patron and support the show. So really thank you so much, Jane and Hetty and Jan, for contributing to the show. It allows us to provide the podcast hosting and prize mailing and all of those kinds of things. And something new, Marsha, something really exciting that we're able to do because of the patrons.
Ooh.
Transcripts.
Oh, yes.
So we now have a transcript of our podcast. Having used the transcription service for my classes, I learned a little bit more about the company that's powering the transcriptions for our work on our classes is otter.ai. And so I went to their website, and they have regular accounts for regular people, and not just education and such. And so I found out a little bit more about it, and so we just when the podcast is done, you submit it. It creates a transcript. You have to edit it because it's not entirely accurate. It doesn't always understand when Marsha and I talk over each other. So there is a little editing to do for that. But now we have a transcript that is attached. It's in the show notes at the end. So we have our regular show notes posted on the blog, and then at the end of that show notes post is the transcript.
Okay.
I have to say it is almost as unnerving to read as my math teaching transcripts. I don't know if you had a chance to read.
I didn't read it, and as you were talking about all this, I was sort of thinking to myself, I don't know that I want to read it because, here it is. Okay. I'm sorry. I think this is what we say every episode. Kelly. Hi, Marsha. Marsha. Hi, Kelly. Kelly. How's it going? Marsha. Pretty good. Kelly. Good.
Yes. It does make you laugh. I have to say, it made me laugh to read how it sounds, but it makes it available to people that it wouldn't be available to otherwise.
So, Kelly, yes. We need to edit this. Because you say, good. And then I say, had pretty exciting weather here in Seattle. A little unusual for us that we had a huge snores. Oh, this is what I actually did say. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, snore. Huge snowstorm came through. I did actually say that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is terrible. This is embarrassing. I'm going to have to do a much better job.
So now, remember when we talked about how I was like, oh my God, how could I have been teaching this long and not make any sense? Yes.
What I'm just laughing about is that it was not the episode where I'm trying to explain helical knitting.
Yeah.
And I'm waving my hands around in the air trying to describe it. So
it's been an interesting process. We'll probably get better. The transcripts will probably get better as we go along. But, I've become more aware. It would never have occurred to me a year ago, 2 years ago. It would never have occurred to me that you would need a transcript for a podcast. My thinking would have been, why would someone who can't hear even think to listen to a podcast? Right?
Right. Yeah.
And my eyes have been opened, having to make my class accessible to my students. And then other things, the conversations about racism and structural racism, and all of those conversations have just kind of opened my eyes and made me think about things that I didn't think about before. I would not have thought about a reason for making a podcast, an audio experience, available to someone who couldn't hear.
So I'm sorry. I am not laughing about what you're saying. Just so you know, I'm sort of chuckling because I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm also kind of scanning the transcript. So I'm sorry. I am not laughing at all what you're saying.
So what are you laughing about now?
Okay. So it was very pleasant to sit out there on a snowy day because you have heat. But anyway, period. Then that night it just started coming down and it snowed all day, period. I mean, all Friday night, Saturday morning, all Saturday into Sunday. It never stopped snowing. And we had, someplace about 8 inches, probably at my house. God, it's terrible. Snow. That's a lot of snow for us. We don't usually get that much. But of course, then late Sunday afternoon or evening, it just turned to rain.
This is what we talk about, Marsha. This is what we talk about.
Oh my gosh. And then it just became soup out there, Kelly. Yeah. Okay, we have to do a better job. I have to do a better job. This is terrible. Oh, so eye-opening. What sounds okay in normal conversation is not okay in a transcript. It's unreadable, pretty much. Oh my gosh, it's too funny. Well, anyway, I have work to do on clarity.
We both do. I think having read through it last time to do the editing. Yeah, we both do. So anyway, now we have transcripts, and I'm very happy that we're able to do that, and it's thanks to the contributions of our patrons. So thank you very much for contributing to the podcast.
I'm still laughing. I'm sorry. I will stop laughing.
Okay, Marsha. Are we done?
Oh. This reminds me of those times over the course of our friendship where we'd have those laughing attacks.
Yes.
And have accidents. So I better get off we better get off the phone before I have an accident.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.